So I drove down and went to shoot arounds, which was good. Good to get back in kind of the rhythm. But with Kansas, it's really interesting. And I think with Johnny Furphy's injury, we don't see them whole. But Bill Self is only playing 10 scholarship guys. Zach Clements is going to redshirt by all accounts.
Right.
And the fit of Hunter Dickinson with their other 4 starters, I think, are a little bit of a concern. The floor is so compact with KJ Adams at the 4. He made a couple threes in Puerto Rico, but he shot 1 at Illinois. Boy, it didn't look good. That wasn't something he did last year. I think he was 0 for 3 last year. But then on top of that, DeJuan Harris was phenomenal for Kansas last year, but he had Grady Dick and he had Jalen Wilson. And KJ Adams kind of like fit in with that personnel, kind of short rolling, spraying it from the small ball sort of 5. And then Kevin McCullar, who, by the way, Kevin McCullar was major league. I mean, big good, time. Huh? Oh, yes. Yes. They talked about how he's really worked on his release. He made a couple threes. That would be huge for them. If McCullar can shoot it, I'm not even saying 40. If he can be like 34, 35, that would help immensely. Yeah, but he's a terrific cutter. He gets to the rim. He plays so hard. I'm sure it burned him that Terrence Shannon kind of got the better of him. Shannon went nuts. Shout out to Rob Doster, who was not high on him in the draft. I took Terrence with a higher pick than Rob thought he deserved, and he showed out in his first game of the season. That didn't matter.
Yes, it is an exhibition, Rob.
It is. But and then Hunter was just kind of average. He didn't make shots that he has in his past. I thought Coleman, Hawkins, and Dane Deja did a nice job for the most part of making him score over them. And he missed most of those little hooks that they made him contest. Really, he scored buckets on short rolls, and he scored points when they kind of overfronted him and he got layups, So it's an exhibition game. By no means am I saying that Kansas needs to hit the panic button, but they have a lot of work to do. And I thought defensively they were poor, just not understanding the scouting report. There was a play that really stood out. And Bill Self, it was pretty cool during the game that we got the access we did with Brad Underwood and Coach Self, because we got to kind of hear their point of view. And he said at one point that their defense was awful. So the play that I'm thinking of, though, is KJ Adams closing out super hard to Ty Rodgers, who was 0 from 3 last year. And literally Rodgers, what he wants to do is get to the basket. He just blows right by him, gets a layup. And I don't know how much Kansas, they did their normal scout that they do. And I think Kansas does as good of a job as anyone at shoot around of, they have this thing, I think they call it the classroom, where they all sit down and basically they quiz these guys on personnel. And then they go through plays and, they go through their walkthrough. And they were, that's a simple personnel thing to know. Ty Rodgers does not want to shoot it from the perimeter. He wants to drive it to the basket. So I think Kansas has a lot to work on. And Furphy would help a bunch if he can make a shot and be adequate defensively.
And he didn't play. Johnny Furphy, their frashman from Australia.
He's got shin splints. So he's out. Marco Jackson had a couple nice drives, but
can't shoot, right?
That would be the thing. Can he make a jumper? And then, I'm blanking.
How did Timberlake?
Timberlake just didn't shoot it well. I think he had a bucket. He came off a pin down, and he's got some like rise to him. At least if you watch him at Towson,
yep.
When people contest his shots on his pull up, or he can elevate and kind of shoot over guards. That's what he did on that play. But for him to be a big piece, he's got a guard, because everyone's got a guard with Bill Self, and he's got to make open threes. That is going to be massive for his role. And that, Parker Brown played a little bit but didn't play well. They're going to play like 8 dudes. So, and then on the Illinois side,
I would assume Clements comes out of his red shirt at some point this season.
Yeah, the interesting thing about him is that he was supposed to be like their starting center last year, right, and then just was so disappointing. I don't know. I'm not sure what the deal. They've talked about it, and then Jamari McDowell got a little bit of time, but he not enough to really impact. From an Illinois standpoint, the Ty Rodgers point guard experience was good against
What's that going to look like? What's that going to look like?
Well, the thing is, they have multiple ball handlers. Like Damas can bring it up, Rogers can bring it up, Shannon can bring it up. I guess Sincere Harris, Dre Gibbs, Lawhorn. So it's not like it's just going to be Ty Rogers bring the ball up every time, right? Like they have other ball handlers.
End of the game. But at the end of the game, Rob.
No, I agree. But I was worried against Kansas.
I'm worried. In close game.
No, I agree. Can he initiate offense and get them into things? I was worried a little bit for them from a Kansas perspective because you've got McCullar and DeJuan Harris, who were both top 5 last year in the Big 12 in steals. Right. And I'm like, man, this could get interesting. Yeah. But
did they go after him?
No.
It's an exhibition.
Yeah, I didn't feel like they really did. So that was okay. Shannon was big time, and he's streaky, he's a shooter, and he was going. You know, he hit 4 or 5 threes in the first half. You know, he loves to get to his left hand, live downhill. He did all of those things. Damask wasn't nearly as effective as he was against Ottawa in their first game, which is the exhibitions that Doster wants us to all see. Coleman Hawkins, I thought, took good shots, shot open ones, moved it otherwise. That's good to see if you're an Illinois fan. Danger was okay. I thought their transfers, though, fit in really well with their returners. Like their core of Rogers, Goody, Coleman Hawkins, Dane Danger. And then you bring in Quincy Guerrier, who I didn't think played all that well at Oregon last year, and he actually gave great minutes.
He's solid.
He's had an interesting career, and we talked about this in the broadcast. At Syracuse, he was more of like an offensive rebounder. At Oregon, he was more of like a stretch perimeter player. He shot a bunch of threes. Yep. He made a 3, and then he got to the basket and drew fouls, got to the offensive glass. Justin Harmon was in there late for them, which I think speaks volumes that Brad Underwood's got him in the game. And then Damask was, he fits in with what they want to do. He can post, he can play pick and roll, he can shoot it. So I think I came away. It's an exhibition game. I was probably more impressed with Illinois than I thought I would be, and I was a little underwhelmed by what Kansas was, I think would be my takeaway.
All right. So, again, I know you're talking about their defense. To me, that's the least of my concerns with Kansas at the end of the day, because
they'll do that. They'll
that's do what I'm
that.
saying. Like
I
think DeJuan Harris.
My concern is DeJuan Harris. Will he look to score? Because it just looks like at times like he doesn't want to. He shot 40 from 3 last year, but on super low volume. And then do they have enough shooting around Hunter to make this thing work?
Well, I mean, again, you had, like you said, you had Grady Dick last year and Wilson. So you had an elite shooter and an elite scorer. Now, who do you have that you're going to give the ball to and say, go make a play? Well, it's like Hunter, but again, Hunter can't create for himself.
Yeah. Well, so you can double team a big, unless you duck him into the middle of the floor, the double team can come. And I'm sure with the personnel that Kansas will have out there, until they make them prove it that they can make them pay for it, the double's going to come. They're going to double team Hunter Dickinson.
I don't love the construction of this team unless Johnny Furphy is much better than even Kansas thought he'd be. I think he's the X factor for this team. Completely.
No, I would agree. And I read something where some NBA scouts, because he played in those NBA academy games, said that he was the equivalent of like a top 50 player. That's not enough. Some top 50 guys impact
as a freshman
in big
I'm not
time
sure
ways.
That's enough right now. I don't know. He's got to be better than that, Rob. He's got to be a top 25. And again, he's just got to do. That's not true.
Like, Evan Turner was ranked 51st in our class.
Right.
Well, if he was Evan Turner as a freshman, he would be
fine. But again, here's the thing: you need him to do one thing really well, and that's shoot the ball. But he's also got to be able to make plays off the bounce, which I think he can do a little bit.
I do too, and I think when you can make threes from the perimeter, that makes it a hell of a lot easier to make plays off the bounce with the way they're closing out to you. That changes everything.
Yep. True. Again, it's just the floor spacing of this team does worry me. It does worry me.
I'm with you on that.
Because again, Timberlake, he did it last year at Towson, but
I don't know again. Career 38%. I feel like he's streaky though.
Not a great defender.
Said that?
Not a great defender.
Have you said that he's a streaky shooter?
Yeah, I saw him. I've seen him play a couple times in person. And he is. Again, when he's got it going, the thing I like about him is he's got swagger, but I don't know if that continues at Kansas. Like, it's a different deal when
you're moving up a different level, and defensively, if you're not a good defender at Towson, and now you're in the Big 12 where there are beasts everywhere, that could be humbling for sure. That's going to be fascinating to watch how he progresses here, I would say.
You know, both these teams have their issues. Again, I don't think we thought about Kansas's quite as much as we do now, seeing them. And again, seeing them without Furphy is a little bit different, but you know, their biggest question mark to me is clearly perimeter shooting and playmakers off the bounce, scorers, where for Illinois, it's clear, right? It's point guard play. And I know you're saying they can do it by committee.
No, I just think like,
that never works, Rob. At the highest level, that never works to me.
Yeah, I look at their roster and it's like, and I know what you're saying. You're saying end of the game, but Rogers can bring it up. Shannon can bring it up. Goody probably could, but if you start pressuring, he'd give it up.
You don't want Luke Goody bringing it up.
Damas can.
That'd be like you bringing it up. You know,
I used to bring it up all the time. Coleman Hawkins can do it as well. He could bring the ball.
He can. He has. But again, I want a dude that I can trust to bring it up, get him in offense
against the point guard that's going to dog
better,
you.
Rob. Yeah, and make people better. And also, hey, when they sag off me, I got to be able to make a shot.
But
we don't know if
that's going to be
Rogers
the thing too. Teams are going to go under on Ty Rogers to the charge arc.
Yes.
Like that. That's what they're going to do.
They're going to rondo him. They're going to he on the scouting report. What's it going to say? Rondo.
Yeah, right. They're going to go under and under and under and under, and they're going to make him. You know, they'll double off him and they'll sag off him. And the thing was, it was funny because Illinois was doing that to KJ Adams. Kansas was trying to run that old school high low that they ran with the Morris twins and Withy and Thomas Robinson and every good big that Kansas has had, and they would just literally have a second defender parked on Hunter.